Hey everybody, what's going on? Review Man here, and this is my first review of the new year. Now, for this review, we're going back to the the late '90s, whenever kids, whenever Nickelodeon used to make films, or whenever Nickelodeon used to make films, and not just crappy TV shows like they're making now, like Blue's Clues and You, and all this other crappy stuff, and Henry Danger, and all this. And of course, I'm talking about the '90s movie Harriet the Spy. Harriet the Spy stars Harriet M. Welsh as Harriet the Spy. She's this person that has a notebook that has private wrote on it, and she's just writing down everything because her totally cool nanny, played by Rosie O'Donnell, named Gully, she tells her to write down everything, and she says a good spy writes down everything. And so Harry has these two friends named Janie and Sport. Sports, as you can tell, he's into sports. As all movies from the '90s have one character with a sports nickname or something. But anyway, Janie and Sport. Janie's into science. She's into science real good. And Harriet has this arch enemy named Marianne. Marianne is this um preppy girl, this preppy girl who doesn't care for Harriet, and Harriet doesn't care for her. And so they're not getting along. And they go to school. They go to school, and then their teacher's name is Miss. I think the teacher's name was Miss Nelson. Yeah, but anyway, this pageant comes up, and they're like, and Janie says to Harriet, "Here, I got an idea for the pageant. Why don't we just put a steam bomb in the ventilation shaft, and it'll stink out her whole performance?" Harriet's like, "Yeah." And so the movie's going on. She's writing in her book. She's writing all these different notes about her friends and everything, and the classmates. And the movie's going fine until one day, Harriet and Gully, they're having a night in while their parents are having this night out, cause the dad, he's an actor, and Harriet's listening in on conversations that she really shouldn't be listening in on. And she's like, "The mark of a good spy is you always know information and you can write it down." So the movie's going on. Gully and Harriet are having a night in, and then they hear this ring at the door. It's Gully's boy. They open it up, and it's Gully's boyfriend. And Gully ends up burning the dinner because her boyfriend. What was this dude's name? Her boyfriend is like this. He used to be this rich guy, but then he went to working in a as a delivery boy, and he said he likes the delivery part more better. And so they burn dinner. They go out to dinner in the movie, and then they come home, and Harriet's like, "Why are the lights on?" And then the parents are like, Harriet, it's like Catherine Gully. God, that's Rosie O'Donnell's the character's name in this movie, Catherine Gully. He's like, "Catherine Gully, you're fired." And everybody's like, "No." Even the dad's like, "No, don't say that's a little harsh." And then Gully's like, "You know what? I think it is time for me to go." I mean, this part would choke me up, but I think it is time for me to go. Harriet's like, "No, Gully, you can't go." And so they have a talk, and it's pretty much time for her to move on because Harriet is 11 in this movie, and she's pretty much a typical teenage girl, a preteen, as they say. So anyway, the movie's going on, and then she's still writing down notes about people in class, and they elect a student president, which happens to be Marianne, and the president would write all the stuff down in the school newspaper or the sixth grade newspaper or whatever. And so the movie's going on. Then they all decide to play. They also decide to play a little game called a bumper tag. And what that entails is pretty much everybody's pushing everybody out of the way and tagging you're it. And then Harry gets pushed. Her journal, her notebook flies out of her hand. And who picks it up but Marianne? And Marianne starts reading like all this stuff about the different kids. Like, there's a kid with purple socks. There's a girl that pretty much, they're only in 6th grade, but she's like, the only reason she's popular is because she grew boobs over the summer. And as you can probably tell, this is a coming to age movie, which just basically means they're growing up. They're in that awkward moment of their life when they're growing up. And so, everybody's turning on Harriet one by one, even Sport and Janie are. And Harriet, she's pretty much distancing herself. She's getting abused by the people that were once her friends. And there's even one scene whenever they're painting this kid. They're supposed to be doing like this still life thing. They all decide to dump paint on Harriet. And Harriet's like, I don't need your help, I don't need your help, I don't need your help. And so what she does is she runs all the way back to her house, jumps in this bathtub, and so she's getting her revenge one by one from the people that were so-called be her friends by abusing things, by sabotaging things, by doing a bunch of different things. And so the movie's going on. She's with her dad, and they get this. Her parents get this call from all the school children's parents, telling her what Harriet has done and this kind of thing. And so as the movie's going on, they take her to the psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist they take her to a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist, he's like pretty much telling her, like, here, take this notebook and see and write some stuff down. She's like, can I keep it? He's like, I gotta ask your parents about that. And then on the way when they're walking out, she's like, so what did he say about me? He said, you're a nice girl, and she's like, okay, so stuff I already know. So anyway, movie's going on, and she's sitting on the porch with her dad, and they're doing like, y'all remember? I don't know, some of y'all may be old enough to remember this, but those fortune teller things where you fold a piece of paper up and you do like pick a color, red, blue, green, blue, pick a color, red, R-E-D. Pick a number. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And he's like, turn around. That's not a fortune. No, turn around. And then she hears this familiar voice behind her. It's Gully. Gully tells her that pretty much you gotta do 2 things. You gotta make up with your friends, and you gotta lie. And Harry's like, good spies don't lie. And then she's like, Gully, can you please come back for a little while? No, I can't go back. I've got to move forward. And so she goes around, and she starts making up with her 2 friends, Sport and Janie. She makes up with Janie first by telling her that Janie's doing this little experiment with mold. And she's like, Janie, I'm sorry. And Janie hears that. And then she goes to Sport's house. And Sport's dad is, she's looking through this peephole. She's looking through this little milk slut. And it's, Sport's dad's got her, like, this bunch of money because he just got a real job. Sport's dad was a writer. And Sport had to pretty much take up the responsibility of the house. That's pretty sad. He's only 11 or 12. And he's got to take up the responsibilities of the house. So, movie's going on. And then Sport and Janie, they're hanging out with Marion and Marion's friends. And then Sport's like, you know what? This is terrible. And Marion was like, you know what? If you don't like it, you can leave. Sport's like, okay, I will. And he leaves. Then he leaves. He takes a piece of cake that they're eating all at Marion's friend's house. And he takes a piece of cake. And then Janie leaves too. And she's like, y'all gotta have no life to hang around with her. And then the next thing we see is Harriet sitting at the desk. And oh yeah, Eartha Kitt's in this movie too. She plays this woman. Snoop is like this rich woman that has this ugly little Pomeranian dog. And then that's pretty much her only role in the movie. She has like maybe a total of 5 minutes, about a total of 10 minutes altogether in this movie. And she plays this little Pomeranian dog, plays this Pomeranian lady that Harriet was spying on. And so, what's next? Oh yeah, Harriet and everybody's in class, and Harriet's like, I have something to say. And she's like, okay, Harriet, go ahead. And Harriet's like, you know what, I just think because of one person writing a paper is too much for anybody to write. So I like to put my name in the hat for 6th grade president. And so what she does is, she was like, okay, Harriet would like to put her hand in for editor of the newspaper. And then she's all like, and the teacher says, okay, everybody, anybody got any, can we put this to a vote? And then he's like, okay, does anybody else have anything to say? And then there's a kid with purple socks, the coolest purple socks in the entire movie. I give this kid Purple Sock Award. Purple Sock Kid, that's his name. He's like, okay, yeah, I like to listen to what Harriet has to write, and I think she'll be a great editor for the paper. And then she said, okay, does anybody else have any nominations? Sport raises his hand. I second. And Janie raises her hand. I third. And then she's like, okay, does anybody else? And everybody starts raising their hand for Harriet. And Harriet becomes editor of the newspaper because she's a writer, of course. Of course, who didn't see this coming a mile away? So anyway, movie's going on. Harriet's writing in the paper, making up for all the lies and stuff that were in her book, in her little notebook that everybody read. And she was making up for all of her lies one by one. And the movie ends with the school's pageant, which looks like a Thanksgiving, looks like a bunch of terrible costumes. But this was a Nickelodeon movie back in the 90s. So terrible costumes. And all the, it was just pretty much a pageant with a bunch of Thanksgiving foods dancing around. And then the stink bomb gets released at the end of the movie. Harriet and then everybody like just starts dancing at their, Mary Ann does her little gravy boat, dance or whatever. And everybody starts dancing at the end of the movie. Oh yeah! And they all start dancing. Doing the Macarena, 90s dances, that kind of thing. So yeah, anyway, this was Harriet the Spy. If you haven't seen it, I recommend go checking it out. This was like back in the 90s. I mean, this was one of my childhood movies because that's when I grew up. I was born in 91. I grew up in the 90s, pretty much. So, yeah, anyway, guys, I'm the Review Man. You are you. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. And have a good one.